she was the person that was guiding me through this journey in pro wrestling, because the level she was at when we first came together, she had a lot of worldly experience that I just didn't have.
You've seen him on international television. He is one half of the Impact World Tag Team Champions. He's the real Mike Bennett, bound for glory on pay-per-view in just a little bit, and AAW's Jim Lynam Memorial Tournament streaming worldwide coming up October 14th and 15th. Mike Bennett, how are you doing?
I am actually really, really good. Life is good right now. Every time I see you, I feel like life is good, but I think that's just, I think that's the mindset I put myself in. So I'm good. It's getting a little chilly here in Illinois for me, so I'm not too happy about that, but
I'm not far from you as well. The seasons are changing, but you're sticking with it.
I don't like it. You know, when I was younger, I was like the guy that was like, give me Christmas in the wintertime. Don't give me anything warm. Now at 37, I'm like, no, give me warmth all the time. I can make it cold if I need to.
I'm starting to feel it in my joints. Tell me about this. One half of the Impact World Tag Team Champions with your longtime partner, Matt Taven. Honor no more, just running roughshod on everyone in Impact Wrestling. I would say the word despised doesn't seem to be fitting for the status that you guys currently have in Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, they don't like us, which I don't understand, because I think we're very fan-friendly. We're not Impact-friendly, but I think we're very fan-friendly. I think they, you know what's funny is I was thinking about this the other night, and it's always like moments like these where we look back and we're like, oh, wow, those were the good old days. Because I'm sitting there and I was thinking and I was looking, I was piecing all the pieces together. I'm like, so I'm doing this with my wife. I'm doing this with my best friend, Kenny King, who I've known forever, Vincent, who's one of my best friends, and then Eddie Edwards, who I literally started in this industry together in Massachusetts, and we've been friends since I was 16 years old. And we're all coming together. And then you throw PCO in there, who's nuts. And then we're all coming together to form this group. And I'm just like, this is really kick-ass. Like, this is one of those moments where I'm going to look back and be like, oh, those were the good old days. Those were the moments I should have appreciated when we were just running roughshod at Impact with my best friends. And it's, I'm having the time of my life right now. I really am.
You're enjoying yourself, but as you said, the Impact fans don't really like you. You seem to indulge in that hatred. I've seen you do this live.
I feel like I have this love-hate relationship. When I'm in front of the camera, for some reason, I project this despicable human being. And I think it's because it's so far removed from who I am as a real person that it's so much fun to just dive into that type of person. And I don't know. I feel like you go to a show to enjoy yourself. And if I'm supposed to be the antagonist, I'm going to give you every possible opportunity to hate me. And that's going to mean that I'm doing my job well. Even though when I go home, I'm like, hey, life is good. Life is grand. Everyone be motivated. Everything's positive. But at Impact, I'm like, no, you're all doomed. You're all screwed. Life sucks.
In general, playing the term is the bad guy, right? Let me just bring it down that lowest. Being in that role, what is the most visceral reaction you've ever gotten anywhere? Because you've had a long, incredible career at WWE, ROH, Impact Now, all these different things, AAW with you as well. You've gotten some incredible reactions, whether people love you or hate you. Yep. What is the most like, wow, I'll never forget someone saying that or doing that or this reaction from somebody in the crowd?
You know, if you wipe away the toxic stuff people say on social media, because that's just some things I read there and I'm like, why would you? It's just phony wrestling. Like, you know, this is all scripted television. I don't get mad at The Office like you get mad at WWE or AEW or whatever. So I don't understand.
Someone yelling at you about your theme song at the airport.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I had someone literally yell at me because I was going bald. I was like, I can't control that. I
can't either.
I'm yelling at my own hair about going bald. Like, thank you for rubbing that in my face. No, I have to say, when I first started out, I was doing an independent show in somewhere in upstate New Hampshire, and it was for the late Steve Bradley. And I just remember we did a match, and I think Steve Bradley was out there, and I was in a heel tag team at the time. And by the end of the show, we couldn't leave because Steve was telling me that people were waiting in the parking lot for us because they were legitimately upset about what we were saying to them and what we were doing to the person in the match. And we had to wait maybe an hour and a half before they actually left, because they clearly outnumbered us. There was like 10 of them and 4 of us. And we were like, this is a recipe for disaster. And I was like 19 years old at the time. So I'm like, what the hell am I getting myself into? Is this a good idea? Like, I thought I was just acting and playing wrestler, and now I actually have to go out and fight some people because they think I'm really a bad guy. It was intense. But I'll tell you what, one of the coolest things that's happened to me has been like the last 5 years with my sobriety, because I now get people coming up to me and being like, oh, you helped me with this and you helped me with that. And like, I had one guy, Royal Rumble weekend, a few years back, he was visibly shaking, and like he was like this big jacked up tough guy looking dude, and he comes up to me shaking and he's crying and he's telling me I helped him get through his divorce. And I just remember being like, wow, okay, this is bigger than wrestling. So those reactions, those are the ones that stick with me now. Like, those are the ones that I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing the right thing. This is where this is the path I should be headed down.
You brought up sobriety, and this is something you and I have talked about away from cameras and stuff like that. It seems like you have a greater sense of clarity, and reflecting on your career, you brought up something from when you were 19, different things like that. How do you view your pro wrestling now with this? Obviously, 5 years of sobriety, you're a different person than you were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
How do you view your wrestling career now as compared to before?
So it's one of those like double-edged swords, because I know as a human, we're always constantly growing, and that we're always going to look back and we're always going to say, oh, I should have known that back then, or if only I had done that back then, or, I wish I knew what I know now when I was younger. And then you add on top of the fact that I was addicted to painkillers for a while during that. And I think you add that other element of stress where you're like, oh, if I only wasn't so focused on drugs back then, or if my mind was clear as it is now. So it's always this catch-22 of not trying to beat yourself up in that situation, and understanding that growing and improving and maturing, and that's just part of life. But truthfully, I look at my wrestling now, and I'm more proud of the wrestling I've done probably in the last 2 years than I did my entire career, because for the first time, I feel like I'm actually wrestling for myself. I'm not trying to wrestle to get a job. I'm not trying to wrestle to impress Vince McMahon or whoever's one of the top guys at the time. I'm literally wrestling because I'm saying, this is fun. This is the style I like wrestling. So when the two come together, I'm going to be the best wrestler if I'm having fun and I'm wrestling for myself. So I've looked at the matches I've had in the last 2 years, and then I'll go back and watch some matches I had 7 or 8 years ago. And while I'm proud of them and I think they're great, and I would never take that away, and I don't regret a thing, I'm very proud of what I'm doing right now because I'm doing it my way. And I think that's so important for people in wrestling. You need to remember why you became a wrestler, and you need to continue to follow that path, because along the way, so-and-so promoter is going to be like, you should do this. And then so-and-so wrestler is going to say, yeah, but if you do this, this will be better. And the trick is being like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then taking the advice that you need and holding it to your heart. And then the advice you don't need, right out the ears and be like, thank you though, but I'm not going to listen to you. And I feel like for the first time, I'm actually doing that. I'm like, great advice, great advice. Awesome advice. Take that, hold that. The great advice, maybe for another time. And I think when guys do that, when girls do that, they find who they really are. And that's why I'm having so much fun right now, because I think I found out who I really am as a wrestler.
I can say I agree. You're one of my. I'm not. I don't care if it seems like I'm kissing wrong. You're one of my favorite people to work with at AAW. Like just very fun. The energy is real. Let's talk about it. October 14th.
Supposed to be fun.
Yes, it's supposed to be fun.
It's pro wrestling. I didn't watch pro wrestling mad when I was younger. I watched pro wrestling like this.
I'm waking up Saturday morning and get my cereal and go down and get
yes. Mad. And so that's who I am now. I'm like, wait, you mean to tell me this is my living? I get to go out and wrestle Josh Alexander for 20 minutes and then the place, like, that's awesome. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. October 14th, 15th. It's a 2-night tournament. You are an entrant in this tournament. 17 competitors. We will have Masa Slamovich as well from Impact Wrestling, who people are with. She's our first intergender competitor in this. It's the first time we've had a female competitor enter the tournament. It is one of the hottest tournaments in all of independent wrestling, if not all of wrestling. How do you approach a tournament? Because that's different, because it's more than one match. It's over 2 days. There's injuries. There's all these different complications with it.
Yeah, I think as cliche as this sounds, and I'm going to use like a Bill Belichick terminology, it's you focus at the one game at a time, or one match at a time. You stay focused on the match you have in front of you, and you don't worry about what comes next. Because like you said, everything's unpredictable. And this is a life lesson in general. If you focus on what is directly in front of you and what you can control, then you don't worry about the other things that are out of your control. My mom always used to say, like, worrying's like a rocking chair. You'll rock back and forth, you'll do a lot of motion, but at the end of the day, you're still in the same spot and nothing's changed. So there's no point on worrying about whether so-and-so is going to advance or so-and-so is going to get injured or how long one match is going to be or how short another match is going to be or who had to wrestle who or who didn't have to wrestle who. You have to focus on what you have in front of you, because that is what you can control. You can control how you wrestle, how you look, your stamina, your ability. You can control all those things for that one opponent, but you can't control for an opponent you don't know is coming, you know? So you just have to focus on that one match. Then when you get through that, regroup, see who's next, and then plan for that person. And that's like, it's a life lesson too in general.
AAW streaming October 14th and 15th on highspots.tv. You can get your tickets as well at the Logan Square Auditorium in Chicago, right off the blue line. Now, the last time you were there, you surprised everyone. We've seen you there for some time, but then you brought Maria Kanellis out, your secret weapon, your secret love weapon at ringside. What is it? What level of confidence do you have having a woman as powerful and as influential as Maria Kanellis with you at ringside? And I mean that in general, because obviously she's with you in Impact as well. Yeah,
so it's funny. The dynamic between me and Maria now, as opposed to like 10 years ago, which the fact that we've been doing this for 10 years still blows my mind. It's entirely different. So back then I was a very insecure, unprepared, all sorts of things that I wasn't ready for the spotlight. And so she was the person that was guiding me through this journey in pro wrestling, because the level she was at when we first came together, she had a lot of worldly experience that I just didn't have. So she was there to kind of show me the ropes of what I needed to do. And she was also there to help me out when I needed a hand or two. Now it's more of like this mutual respect thing. And when I see her across the ring from me, or I see her by the apron, I look at her and I go, okay, there's Maria Kanellis, who I consider one of the smartest, most brilliant minds in pro wrestling. And she's standing right there supporting me. So that gives me the motivation that I need to continue to move forward. That's all I need to see. I just need to see her believing in my ability. And that's the motivation that I go, well, if she believes in it, then that's all that matters. And that's literally where I'm at in my life too, where I'm like, wait, Maria Kanellis believes in me? Well, I got to keep moving forward because I got to prove her right.
I'm going to go home. Or it's going to be a long car ride if I get.
I got to deal with this when I get home. I got to make sure she's correct.
Shoot the shoulder.
She'll let me know when I suck too. It's great.
When is she? Can I ask you that? When does that come up? That's a random thing. I'm sorry. I'm no, and
it's actually believe it or not, it's the part about her that I love the most, because in wrestling locker rooms, if you're a veteran or whatever, you'll come to the back and you'll ask people what they thought, and a lot of them will just kind of be like, "It was great. It was awesome. I loved it." She'll look at me, and even if I think the match was like one of my best, I'll look at her and go, "What do you think?" And instantly she gives me this face like. And I'm like, oh shit, there's a lot coming right now, isn't there? And there usually is, but I love it because what she sees is the things that a lot of people don't see. She sees mannerisms. She sees how you sell. She sees whether you should pick it up or slow it down. She sees how the fans are reacting and whether something's working or not. I might think it's working. And then from her perspective, she can be like, yeah, that really wasn't working as well as you thought it was. And she's also watching the entire match from ringside. So she gets an entirely different perspective. And truthfully, every single really, really, really good match that I'm like, I loved it, she's found something to pick apart, but it makes me better. And I know it's coming from a real place, because that's what you do with people you love. You be like, you tell them, you're like, that was great, but I think you have more to give. And I think I think people can be like, oh, she's being too hard on you or this and that. And I don't agree with that. I think when you see something in someone that you care about, you try to pull out the very best in them. And now if there were things where she's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, and then I go back and watch it, I'm like, but it was really working. I'd be like, all right, maybe you're not coming from a good place. But almost everything she said to me, once I try again, it usually works. And so I know she's coming from a decent place.
Let's talk Bound for Glory. Impact Wrestling come out here Friday, October 7th at the Washington Avenue Armory in Albany, New York. You will defend the Impact Wrestling tag team titles against one of the greatest tag teams of all time, the Motor City Machine Guns. This is quite the attraction. You and Taven versus them, two big teams. What are the expectations for you in this match?
We left the tapings this past weekend, and I think one of the last things I said to Taven right before we left is I said, Bound for Glory is going to be a lot of fun. We've never wrestled the Motor City Machine Guns. And I said, let's remind everyone who the we really are. And that was my mindset. We've done a lot in this industry. We've gone to Japan. We've wrestled the Bullet Club. We've wrestled the Young Bucks. We've won gold everywhere we've gone. And sometimes I feel like we oftentimes get left out of the conversation of really, really good tag teams that are still around, have done a lot of good things. So I said to him, I was like, let's use that to our advantage. We got a fucking chip on our shoulder. Let's remind everyone who the we are. And I have a feeling like the Motor City Machine Guns are going in there too, thinking that way, because they've been having some killer matches the last year or so. And I feel like they're another team that doesn't get talked about in the sense of they're like, when you look at the top tag teams, you always hear FTR, you always hear the Young Bucks, you always hear the Usos, and here's Motor City Machine Guns, here's the OGK. And we're like, wait a minute, we're doing just as well. We're killing it just as well. So let's remind everyone who the we are. And that's our mindset going in.
All right, a proper use of the F word if I've ever heard it.
I'm sorry if I offended.
No, I like it. I like it. I don't like when people use it and it doesn't matter.
Okay, good.
It matters at an emphasis. Obviously, a big attraction here. Your wife Maria has talked about having some communication recently with AEW and WWE. She's been open about her contract status coming up. What is your contract status with Impact? And what do you think here of a possible free agency window with everything going on and everyone talking and big things happening in WWE and big things happening in AEW? Is there a future for you in the free agency market?
That, you know what, man, maybe, you know, it's, I don't know. It's one of those things where I have been so focused on just being the best performer that I can be, that a lot of times I used to dread when like contract things were coming up because I was like, I don't want to discuss them, but I'm not even really focused on it. My main point right now is to be the best overall performer. And I'm a firm believer that whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. And so I'm just going out there and I'm trying to be the very best I can be so that whatever may come, Impact, AEW, WWE, New Japan, whatever it is, I just want to be the best prepared for myself. I have no idea what's going to happen. Just like when we got released from Ring of Honor or fired from Ring of Honor a year ago, I had no idea that I'd be at Impact. I had no idea I'd be at Impact for almost a year now. I had no idea we would be Impact Tag Champs. Like everything has just kind of happened, and it's happened for the best, I think, when I'm just focused on being the best performer. Mm-hmm. So what I love right now is that the wrestling world is wide open. What I love right now is that I think me, Taven, and Maria are doing the best work we've ever done. And what I love right now is I'm the happiest I've ever been in wrestling. So I think with all those three combined, I think it's a really good mix of like the possibilities being endless. And I don't want to say, I don't want to go here. I do want to go here. Yeah. I definitely want to go here because truthfully, I don't know. If you had told me last year, you'd be having the time of your life at Impact, I'd be like, you're out of your friggin' mind. That's not going to happen. I'm still working at Ring of Honor in October of that time. So I'm like, what are you talking? So I'm just letting whatever happens happen. I've done a lot in this industry. I'm proud of my work. And now I just want to really, really enjoy myself.
Mm-hmm. So it's wide open. There's a lot of opportunities. It really is,
man. And that's the thing is I don't want to say no anywhere, because to me, whatever I think is the best fit for me, Taven, Maria, and my family, that's where I'm going to go.
Okay. As a trio act, it's interesting here.
Well, I want to say this because I think it's important to say, and I've said it to him face to face, and he told me that was never anything that came up. But when I left Ring of Honor the first time, I feel like I left Taven high and dry. Okay. He just got injured, and then I felt like the tag act was just on the rise. He got injured, and then I feel like I just left him. And he constantly tells me I didn't, but in my heart, he's my brother, and I'm not going to do that again. Mm-hmm. I think we're the strongest when we're a team. And whether that means we go somewhere as a team and then we branch off, who knows? But truthfully, over the last 8-9 years, the kingdom has always been what I think we've done the best. And so whatever we do next, I'd love it to be with the kingdom.
And you'd like to make that move. You'd like to make that move as a tag team, you think?
I would, whether it's staying or leaving, or I want to do it with the team because I feel like we haven't hit everything that we should hit.
Mm-hmm. And there's some matches out there. There's some big possibilities out there.
Yeah, definitely.
But still, some big stuff coming up here. October 7th, you guys are going to be on on pay-per-view with Impact Wrestling. Get all the information at impactwrestling.com. Don't want to read the wrong information there. Friday, October 7th, Albany. Get your tickets now, impactwrestling.com. All the info, of course, Thursday nights as well on Access TV. And then October 14th and 15th, you will be at the Logan Square Auditorium, the world-famous Logan Square Auditorium, for AAW's big Jim Lynam Memorial Tournament. Excited to see how that all goes down. Of course, if they want to follow you on socials, where do they go, Mike?
Check me out, Twitter at Real Mike Bennett, on Instagram, The Real Michael Bennett. And then on TikTok, where I put my motivational videos up, there's not a whole lot of dancing, just motivational videos. It's Be Real with Mike Bennett. Yeah. And then please, my wife has Women's Wrestling Army. Check that out. It's awesome. Like, I'm so proud of her and the women she brings in and this camaraderie that they have. Like, I think this is going to be something special. So check it out and be one of the first that hop on this train, because I think it's about to really explode.
Thanks for the time as always, Mike.
Thank you, man. It's good to talk to you.
You too.